Welcome to another episode of Half Assed Handyman. I'm Mike, your resident half-assed repairman with very little to no knowledge of the tasks in front of me, but I give it my best effort. So today's task is replacing a sump pump. I've got some co-extruded ABS, some PVC pipe. I got some fittings. I'm going to give this a shot. What I'm gonna do right this second, I can't open the door. One second. Yeah, the task I'm doing right this second, I'm just going to set the piping, put the glue or epoxy or the amazing goop on the pipes and let them set. I have to leave for tour 2 days from now, so I'll let it set today, and then tomorrow I will install it in the sump pump hole. I'm sure this can go fine. What could go wrong? So the first thing I have to do is measure the distance from the sump pump thread to the top of the pipe there. The best way to do it is actually to remove the sump pump, have them side by side so you can make 100% sure they're the same level. I don't have that luxury though, unfortunately. Yeah, there's too much water in the well. It's winter and there's a lot of groundwater, and I just can't take the sump pump out to do that. So I have my tape measure. The water's really clear so I can see well, and yeah, I'm just gonna measure it with the tape. Another thing I'm gonna be doing, you'll notice there's no check valves. So I have a couple of check valves. It's just a little lever inside that if the water is being pumped out, it opens the little flap inside, and when the water stops pumping, the flap closes and seals it. So I'm going to be installing those. We actually have 2 sump pumps. I'm going to install those in both sump pump lines. But for now, I just want to get the piping set in the pump so that I can install it easily tomorrow. This should be a breeze. So I needed to come up about 10 inches. Quite honestly, I'm not going to do any of the cutting right now. I just want to get these threaded and sealed. So I think that today's portion of the job should be pretty easy. Pretty easy. The adapter will thread into the sump pump here. The pipe will go into the adapter, like so. The goop will go into the joint here. I'll let that dry. I'll put a bit of tape on the thread, and then I'll let it sit and allow the goop, as it's so affectionately called, to seal. What could go wrong? Okay, so I've cut the piece of pipe. The best saw to use is a hacksaw. So if you're getting involved in this project yourself, I definitely recommend a hacksaw is the way to go. Pipe is cut, so now I'm going to put the thread tape on my adapter here and get it all threaded into the sump pump, and then I'll do the goop. So the next step, similar to when I did the copper tubing, if you didn't see that Half Assed Handyman episode, check it out. So similar to that, I've got my sandpaper pad, and I'm just gonna rough up the surface area that I'm going to be sealing in here, and that'll just help it bond a little better. And so I'm just gonna do that, and then I'll apply the goop, I'll get it set, and then we're pretty much good to go. So this is a pretty easy step. You literally just take your sandpaper, and just go around the edge a couple of times. So after that, you're just gonna wipe off any excess, make sure the area is clean, which it is. This is all clean as well. So now, it's time for the goop. So I'm going to apply a little bit of the goop into the inside of the coupling and the outside of the tube. It recommends you let the goop begin its drying process for maybe a minute or two, and then after that you will actually mate them together. I don't know why. Remember, I'm a half-assed handyman. I can't really tell you why. I guess just to start the bonding process and make it adhere better. So here we go. So I've added some goop inside the tube here. Now I'm just gonna apply some to the outside of the pipe. I'm gonna need 2 hands for this. And now I just let it sit for a minute or two. And now that it's been a couple of minutes, we'll take the pipe and engage it with the coupler. Twist it a bit, spread the goop around nice, and then let it set. Oh, we are gooped. Now I'm gonna do the same thing up here. Okay, so I made a slight change of plans. Instead, I put the check valve instead of the 90°. And I did that because I don't think we really need the unnecessary bend in the pipe here. The back pump is just a straight line, and I figured this one could be a straight line as well. It would be much easier that way. Check valve's installed, and now we're just gonna let it all set. And tomorrow we'll finish this off after all of the goop has dried and is good to go. Hey, Fru. Foreman's. We all got them. And we're back at the sump pump. It's had time to set. Everything's all dry now. The well she's high, as you can see. The snow's melting, so there's a lot of water seeping in through the ground right now. So that old pump's just not cutting it. I gotta get this new one in. So let's do this. So I've just cut the pipe to separate the sump pump. So now I can pull out the old sump pump, put in the new sump pump, attach this gear clamp, and it's hooked up. At that point I'll turn it on, make sure it's flowing correctly. One thing I haven't mentioned yet that's very important that I've noticed whoever did this last time didn't do. It's very important to drill about a 1/8 inch hole into the piping, and that's to provide an air breathing point. What can happen is air can get stuck in the tube. It'll be like a bubble, and when the bubble is in the tube, the pressure builds up, but it can't push. You know, there's water on one side, there's water on the other side, and it can't push that air bubble through the line. So it'll just sit there and it'll eventually fry your pump. So I will put in the air breathing hole, and I'll do it in the other line as well so that both lines can breathe. And you want to do it, first of all, you want it to be a very straight drilled hole so water doesn't shoot up. And you want it to be below the well line so that the water will go back into the well. Something to be mindful of, and I'm going to do that now with both of these sump pumps. The new pump's installed. and it appears to be making some quick work. At this point, it appears to be a success, so the Half Assed Handyman strikes again. That's another successful project that I had no idea what I was doing, but somehow managed to pull it off. So maybe this will help you. So an interesting side note. The Goop, don't use the Goop. As it turns out, the Goop was terrible for the job. Never should have used the Goop. Had to redo all the joints I did with the Goop. Don't use the Goop. I don't know what I'm doing. Half-assed handyman. I'm straight up about this right from the get-go. But what you do need is, there's a pipe joint compound. This stuff dries in like 1 to 3 minutes. Much better than something that has to dry for 24 to 48 hours. I don't know what I was thinking with the Goop. I was in the plumbing section, it was right beside the piping. I figured, hey, these things must be the right things, they go together. Always ask a professional. Had to redo it all, basement flooded. It was a real mess. So when you're doing this, make sure you use the proper sealant. Something like this. White pipe joint compound worked way better. That's the only asterisk. Everything else was trial and error, and for the most part it worked pretty well. Haven't had flood since.